Welcome to Tax Tip Tuesday. Welcome to Tax Tip Tuesday. I am Chastity. I am your host. I am the owner of Grady Tax Plus, where I help counselors, coaches, content creators who are new in their business understand their business structure, taxes, keep their finances organized so they can feel confident in knowing that they are saving both time and money. So make sure you go back and watch any of my previous Tax Tip Tuesdays where I've talked about taxes, bookkeeping, and business. Today I'm going to be talking about all of them kind of all in one. The topic for today is how to report and show proof of your income and expenses, your business income and expenses. And I did add something to the title, which is qualify for a higher mortgage amount. Okay, a lot of people right now are in the process or are thinking about trying to buy a new home. And what you don't know is that a lot of lenders, a lot of mortgage companies, they don't like to deal with self-employment when it's time to qualify you for get your pre-qualification for the amount that you qualify for. A lot of them don't like to use or deal with anything that has to do with self-employment, which is a disadvantage for you, because then you're left with qualifying for a lower amount than you would if you were able to include the self-employment. You can provide them the self-employment, and it's funny, you can provide them the information of your self-employment and then they won't even use it. Some of them are really strategic when they're talking to you about it. They're like, yeah, we got your W-2 income, and we got something like maybe you have retirement income. And then they'll try to like ease into, oh, and you have the self-employment, but sometimes they're really crafty on how they tell you that they are not using your self-employment, because then you're gonna have to do this, you're gonna have to do this, you're gonna have to do this. And some of them just don't say anything at all, and you're just like, why qualify for that amount? And you just never know until you ask them. If sometimes you don't know to ask. So if you're somebody who is going through the process of trying to buy a home, then definitely make sure you ask questions. Ask questions. Don't let them tell you anything, and don't let them, count your self-employment out. Okay. So I have 3 talking points on how to report and show proof of your income and expenses. And when it comes to qualifying for mortgages, you do have to have the net income, and so they do look at the net income versus with the W-2 they look at your gross. When it comes to the business, they don't look at the gross. I mean, it's nice to know the gross, but they don't look at the gross, which is what you actually made. They want to know the bottom line, which is why it's important that you are just not out here spending money on things that you don't need to be spending in your business. Okay, you want to be able to buy the things that you need for your business, and that it's not excessive amounts. Okay, so again, and I wanted to add this topic into here because I want to be able to help somebody today in regards to, if you're someone who is going through the process of trying to qualify for a mortgage, or maybe you may be thinking about doing it in the future. Because again, like I said, mortgage people, they will count your self-employment out. And if you're not, I don't want to say smart enough, but if you're not knowledgeable and have that information on what you need to provide that information to them, and be vocal and advocate for yourself and let them know that yes, you are using this information, then you will qualify for a lower amount, and you don't want that. So when it comes to reporting your income expenses, you definitely want to make sure that you have your tax return with your business reported on there. A lot of people want to try to not include their business income onto their tax return, but that is a disadvantage to you, because you may think you're going to pay taxes on something, but would you rather pay taxes on income that you made, or would you want to qualify for a low amount of loan and not get the house that you want, right? So it's better that you report the income and expenses onto your tax return, report the business on your tax return, because the mortgage loan lender, they're going to want to see your tax return. And if your business is not on your tax return, then guess what? Then you're already counted out on using that self-employment income. And a lot of them are not going to want to just rely on other options that I'm going to tell you after this tip. I have one client who wants to buy a house, and he's going through the process of trying to buy a home, and the loan lender, they told him, okay, well, we need your tax return. And he looks on his tax return and he says that, he doesn't have his business income or expenses on there. The tax preparer didn't put it on there, even though they told him of it. Now, I'm not sure how much of that is true, but the fact that the fact that he did not report his income and expenses, his business on the tax return, that is counting him out. So now he's needing to go back and file an amendment because he was trying to not report that information. Either he was not trying to report the information. The way he explained it to me, he kind of casually mentioned it to the tax preparer, but it's still, that's tax preparer duty to ask more probing questions to get that information out of them. But don't try to be shady, just for lack of better words. Don't try to be shady with your business. If you're operating a business, then report the business, because you just never know in the future if you want to qualify for credit or qualify for a loan. A lot of the people who were trying to get those PPP loans, they needed to have their business reported on prior tax returns, and they didn't have that. A lot of them didn't have that information, or they created it for going forward. So you want to make sure that if you're running a legitimate business, then legitimately report that business on your tax return, okay? So that you don't count yourself out. So that's one way that you want to report and show proof of your income and expenses is on the tax return. A second way you want to be able to report and show proof of your income and expenses, especially when it comes to trying to get a loan for a house, is having those bank accounts. So having a separate business bank account from your personal. This is going to back up what's on that tax return, because they're going to want to see statements, your bank statements, which will, back up information that is reported on that tax return. I like the idea of having a separate income versus expense account. So I like to have a business bank account for my income, a business bank account for my expenses. That way I can choose to just give them the bank account for all of my income, and they see all the income, and it helps them feel better that they are able to use my self-employment because they see all the green. If you have a business bank account that has both the green and the red going in and out, and by red I mean all the expenses, then it's going to look really confusing, chaotic for the person because you have to remember, a lot of these loan lenders, they're not accountants. A lot of them don't have a financial background in regards to when it comes to taxes. A lot of them don't even know what they're looking at. I've had to explain several times when it comes to a tax return that has a car on there, especially depreciation, how even though it's depreciated, you don't count it as the expense for let me explain this correctly for y'all. So with the depreciation, it takes away, it deducts from your expenses, and when you're trying to qualify for a loan or anything, you want to take that depreciation that's as an expense and add it back to your income, because a lot of people, for example, if you get a car for $40,000, a lot of people aren't depleting $40,000 out of their income to buy a car. Most people are, depleting maybe $5,000 for that year that they paid towards the car. And you want to be able to accurately reflect that the depreciation that you took, like if you took the whole $40,000 as a tax write-off, you want to be able to add that back as income to show that $40,000 is not an actual expense that you have for the business. And a lot of them don't understand that. Sorry, I'm kind of talking over your head if you don't understand what I just said. But you want to, it's just to show that a lot of them don't know. So if they're really black and white, they really like to just see that W-2 or 1099-R for retirement, something like that, because it's easy. But when it comes to the self-employment, they need different things to kind of back up what is shown. So like I said, on the tax return, the bank accounts, when they ask for those statements, that is going to show some kind of proof that what you reported on the tax return is somewhat true. So like I said, I like to have an income account for just the income coming in, an expense account just for the expenses, so it looks more clean. It has one account, all greens, other account with the red. And if I want to just show them just the income account, then I can do that, because it's technically that is still a bank account that they can use that has proof of all the income that's come in, and that all the income that's come in matches with what I reported on the tax return as all the income coming in. Okay, so just to recap, the first tip is making sure that you report your business on your tax return. Don't try to be shady with your business. Don't try to not report some of the income because you don't want to pay certain taxes. If you are someone who is in the process of trying to qualify for a loan, a mortgage mortgage loan, then you want to be able to show that your business is really profitable. So you want to make sure that you're including that information on there on the tax return, because they're going to ask for that. If it's not on the tax return, then guess what? It doesn't exist to them. And then you want to be able to provide the bank statements. If you have it separate, like I talked about how I have an income bank account, and then I have one for the expenses. You want to provide at least the income account, so that you can show all the income that backs up what's on the tax return. And then the third thing is your profit and loss statement, which goes towards the bookkeeping. So if you don't have your bookkeeping together, then that's gonna be a red flag to the lender. They're really, like I already mentioned in the beginning, they already don't want to use your self-employment. A lot of them are going to tell you that they're not, a lot of them are not going to tell you that they're not going to use that self-employment. Even though you provided it to them, they will not use it. I'm telling you, they will not just automatically use it, because they don't want to go through looking at the tax return, looking at the bank statements, and looking at the profit and loss statement. So you providing the profit and loss statement because that's considered your pay stub. Because if you don't have your if you only have that business and don't have W-2s, then your profit and loss statement is now going to be that substitute for your pay stub. So they want to know what you've done in the last 30 and 60 days. And if they're not going to want to see an Excel spreadsheet of a whole bunch of stuff they don't understand. Like I said, a lot of these people are not accountants. They're not financial background people to understand what is going on Excel spreadsheet. So making sure that you have that profit and loss statement where you can pull a report, for example, for May and June for the last 30, 60 days, and be able to provide that, and then also provide the profit and loss statement for the previous year. That way you show that, look, I reported this on my tax return. This is what you see on my profit and loss statement. Here's my bank statements that back up all of that. They want to see all three of those things, and that's how you accurately are able to show proof of your income and expenses and how to report it. Okay, so I hope that helps somebody, especially if you are looking to purchase a house. If you want to include your self-employment, you want to make sure that you have your bookkeeping in order, because none of this will be possible if you don't have that bookkeeping together. Managing your income and expenses, managing your finances for your business. And that is something that I help my clients with, especially my DIY clients who want to learn how to do this themselves so that they can be able to be profitable in their business on their own. Because a lot of people are into doing things doing things themselves, because this is the DIY society. So I help my clients learn how to do their own bookkeeping. I teach them how to set it up, how to pull reports, how to read reports, how to categorize all their income and expenses. And if that's something that you're interested in, then I do have my link above or below this video, depending on how you're watching it. So you can schedule an appointment with me to see if that's something that works for you. If not, if you're someone who's like, you know what, none of this really makes sense to me, I don't want anything to do with managing my own bookkeeping, I'd rather you just do that for me, then I can do an assessment to see if my monthly bookkeeping services, my done for you services, is something that will work for you. But again, I just really want people who are really trying to get houses to qualify for the max. And the only way to qualify for the max is if you include the max income, which includes your self-employment income. And like I said, lenders are not going to want to use it. You have to advocate for yourself to even have them add that information on there. And if you're going to advocate for yourself to include it, don't show up to them with no Excel spreadsheets. You're going to look unorganized. Have that profit and loss statement ready. Have that tax return ready with the income and expenses reported on that tax return. And then also have your bank accounts, the separate bank accounts showing that, your business name with the income and expenses. Okay, so I hope that helps you. Make sure you share this video with someone who needs it, especially someone who's in the process of trying to buy a home and qualify for a mortgage, and they're kind of stuck and not sure what to do with their self-employment income. Definitely share this video with them so that they are prepared to move forward in that loan process, because they are, like I said, they're not going to use that information. If you mention self-employment, they're closing their ears on you. They don't want to hear it. So you want to be able to advocate for yourself, and while you're advocating for yourself to use it, you want to have your stuff together and be able to show them so that they can feel confident knowing that, okay, I can use this information that she provided me or that he provided me, because they have their stuff together, and I can qualify them for a higher amount of a loan. Okay, so I hope that helps you, and I'll catch y'all in the next Tax Tuesday.